I was so close to forgetting to plug my mic in there. How's the audio? I should probably put you to sleep. How's that? Oops. Nope, that's copyright music. Oh, it's not copyright, but he could claim the stream. How's everyone doing today? I'm back. Lots has happened. So yeah, it's good to be back, guys, honestly. Hopefully the audio is all good. Yeah, it's been a fun day. So this week at work's been pretty difficult. It's been absolutely draining. But yeah, let's ready to get started. Oof. I was looking at getting a laptop, but I think it's gonna be well over. But yeah, let's get started. Can you guys hear me okay? Is the audio all good? Someone let me know. Also have to check myself. Is the mic working? I'm assuming no. Yeah, it's all good. Okay, that's good to know. I've been nervous for a second there. Forgot to talk about the Tory who was going to run against Andy Burnham in... Yeah, he switched to Reform. Yeah, that's pretty nuts. He explained why, though, and to be fair, he's got no chance against Burnham anyways. But, you know, Reform are offering, I think, to actually offer him campaign finance, whereas the Tories weren't. Can you see in here, can you work out the amount of tabs you have? I can, actually, yes. I can tell you. One sec. Okay. I'm going to crack Task Manager open. Task Manager will. It sometimes tells me, sometimes it doesn't. Okay. I have 76 open. Not just on this screen, across the 3 screens that I have. Right. So, yeah. My RAM usage is very high, so I'm going to close some later. Some of this stuff is just open from things that I've been, like, just messing around with. One of my friends recently did a DNA test, and the results were like interesting. So I might do one. The Labour candidate in the Brighton Pavilion seat. Any thoughts? I have no idea who the Labour candidate in the Brighton Pavilion seat is. I'll be honest. I don't. That's an NJ question, to be honest. It's not one I'm gonna, unless they've done something really dumb and they're on Twitter. Let me see. Are they on? Is this gonna start playing? I reckon it will. Okay, let's see. Let me have a look on Twitter. Is there anything going on about the Brighton Pavilion person? Even for, because I think people who get angry about flags are idiots. That makes me unpatriotic. Let's see. Any anonymous voter system was used to dislike me rigged. Okay. Doesn't seem he wants anyone. Perhaps to avoid people telling him that he's linked to an article. If you read it, it says this. Okay. Sam Tarry's apparently he's mad. The weird thing is Sam Tarry. I think he's in a relationship with Raina. Oh, he's posted the archive link as well. What a joker. Let's see. Let's have a quick flick through this. So, let's see. It's a software for holding online votes that is widely used. Local branches. Tarry lost to Jas Althor, who is considering legal action. Her lawyers wrote to the party raising concern. Apparently there's some sort of issue with the online voting system they're using. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with Brighton and Pavilion. Is there anything special? Because I've heard the Green Party might be best placed. The Green Party might take it. Are they putting up Eddie Izzard? No. Eddie Izzard tried to become the Labour candidate for that seat. Who is the Brighton candidate? Tom Gray said the party's number one. Said his party's numbers put this fight much. What the fuck is he talking about? Yeah. Oh, you're talking about thingy seat. What's her name? The only Green MP we have. I can't remember her name. He was on Labour Social last night. Wasn't impressed when asked the question. Replied that Labour hasn't announced a position on it. Wait, what? Wait, what's going on? Are you talking about Sam Tarry? Chatty, who are you talking about? Anyways, I'll get on to topics and we'll just circle back to this, I guess. So, am I going to do a reaction to the Owen Jones video? Yes, I'll cover it on the stream, and then I'll do like a separate video on it, like I normally do. How's my holiday? It's really good, honestly. The Prague I recommend. It was fun, honestly. The tram system's great, so you can get around really easily. You can get to the main areas in the city, like they're all pretty much in the centre. It was fun, honestly. It was really fun. I don't really have any major complaints about the place, honestly. So yeah, that was good. I honestly really enjoyed it. I can recommend it. Got to see my friends that live over there as well. Got some new stuff. Like I found some really nice glasses over there that I'm going to show off tomorrow or Tuesday, depending on when I get. I've got a video planned with random Scottish history as well, where we're going to discuss Scotland. So that should be good. So keep an eye out for that. So that's good. So I'm hoping to record that tomorrow, and then if I'm feeling up to it, I might No, I'm going to record it Monday. Hopefully publish it on Monday. So I'm going to put a shift in tomorrow and clear out as many videos and stuff as I can tomorrow. Really, just put a big shift in, just get stuff done. So that should be good. But yeah, I don't think there's any more questions unless like someone like QA or someone snuck one in. Nope. Tom Gray, Labour candidate for Brighton Pavilion, right? What's Tom Gray specifically done? What's happened here? Right, he's a musician. What has he said? Okay. He's some sort of musician? I don't know. He's a singer, musical work. Gray's a founding member of three vocalists indie rock band Gomez. Activism. Gray was selected as Labour candidate. He would... Caroline Lucas, that's her name. He would become the first Labour MP for Brighton in more than a decade. He defeated Eddie Izzard. What's Tom done? What's this geezer done? Nothing, that's the issue. What? No form. I don't get what the criticism is of him. Has he done something specific? I'm genuinely confused about what's going on in chat.
Anything that makes trade more difficult makes countries poorer. Anything that makes trade more difficult makes countries poorer.
Oh, Jacob Rees-Mogg finally figuring out why Brexit was bad then by the sound of it. Oh, people buying Ash Blossom. Oh, this is... Yeah, it's rough out here. What's this? Electricians arrested for carrying work tools. Oh, yeah, it's a bit of racism there. The biggest rise of absolute fucking excuse. Oh no, people are talking about the England thing, the England shirt thing. Oh no, it's all going wrong. Let's see. No, I missed you were going live. I do jury duty, so I went to 6-week Monday. Oh, okay. So evening all. All right, let's get into topic. So this is the Jones video.
My great-granddad, who had his wages docked in the general strike a century ago.
This is kind of like he's talking about the history of himself in the Labour Party, and this is where we get into the more substantive critique over here.
Spook you into thinking otherwise. Not because they actually fear losing, they don't, but because they crave the biggest majority possible so they can get
Let me know what the audio is like, the mix.
away with doing anything they want. And you can't trust them with that kind of power. I didn't vote for Keir Starmer to be leader of the Labour Party, but I did wish him well when he was elected. And in his leadership election, he made clear that it wasn't the policies we need to fix our country to blame for Labour's defeat. And he was right, even if he didn't mean it. He also promised unity.
Factualism has to go.
No leadership campaign in Britain's democratic history has been that dishonest or even close. Now, Starmer promised at the time, variously, to ask the booming well-off and big business to pay more tax,
Yeah,
so we could.
These are the original pledges, and these are things that he could... This is definitely one he could still do. Increase income tax for the top 5% of earners. This is one he could easily do, but he's deciding... he's saying he won't do that. So, this is another one where he's flip-flopped on.
That he'd abandoned them. Don't believe me? Listen to Labour MP Margaret Hodge, interviewed during that leadership election.
He's triangulating like mad. Somebody said to me, I don't mind what he does as long as he wins, beats Rebecca Long Bailey. And I thought, Tony never did that. So is Keir lying to get the job, and will he then change? That's what this person was saying to me.
Now, in the leadership
And that's what happened.
election, he promised nationalisation would be in the manifesto.
Is it a pledge that these industries will be in your manifesto for nationalisation?
Yes, it is.
In
They're
your
all
first term?
pledges, Andrew. So the answer to these questions is yes.
He even stuck his hand up on national TV in support of nationalisation. Now, as soon as Labour members had voted, he then claimed he'd never supported nationalisation.
I didn't make a commitment to
Should be dropping dates on these clips. That'd make it helpful.
nationalisation. I never made a commitment to nationalisation. I made a commitment to common ownership. They were worlds apart.
You see, if that was Boris Johnson doing the same thing over policy, no one would hesitate in saying that showed.
And the thing that annoys me is journalists should have these clips ready. They should absolutely have these clips ready and just play them. That's what Koonsberg should have done. She should have played it.
Rightly, what a fundamentally dishonest politician he is. And again, like Boris
trying to see
Johnson, some of
the
it
bits
is
I was
just
talking about.
dishonesty over petty things, which in both cases reveal their character. Like repeatedly saying Jeremy Corbyn is his friend,
He's a colleague, he's a friend.
then later saying he was never his friend.
Was he a friend? No.
The fundamental point
Reminds me of Dana White clip.
is you cannot trust a single thing Keir Starmer says. There's no evidence he's got any clear beliefs or principles at all. He just wants the big job for its own sake. And keep applying that Boris Johnson test. When Boris Johnson lies, did you say, well, that shows he's a ruthless politician, he's just doing what it takes to win? Or did you say he was unfit for high office? Now, if Keir Starmer had scrapped all those policies and offered a different, clear, coherent, inspiring vision for the country, maybe you could forgive all that. Well,
I think some of them you can say, okay, we get it. If you want to say you want to nationalise water or whatever, and you'd be bailing out shareholders. Okay, that's whatever. If they're going to bring in fines with railways, they want to nationalise those. It's the tax one that gets me. For, putting foreign policy aside, which we'll discuss, it's the tax stuff that concerns me. That's the thing I don't like. I don't like a lot, to be honest with you. I mean, if he said we're going to look at fining water companies. Massive amounts. I think that's what they've said, and then you can look at nationalisation later. That's fine, but there's a lot more they can do on certain industries that are near kind of monopolies, I think, in order to kind of bring them back in, because consumers are being shafted every which way you go.
Bad luck. The one thing you can always say about Labour is you might not think they're going far enough, but at least they'll make life better for those who are struggling. Now, his politics weren't mine, but I think Gordon Brown genuinely cared about child poverty. It's not just that this lot don't have anti-poverty measures, they actively support Tory policies which drive kids into poverty. Keir Starmer went on TV to say he backed the Tories' 2-child benefit cap, even though it drives 1.5 million kids into poverty or hardship, more than any other single policy.
If you have more than 2 children at the moment, you don't get benefits. Would that change under a Labour government?
We're not changing that policy.
You're not changing the 2-child policy benefits, okay?
Do you know what's worse?
And again, all that kind of policy does is it punishes the child. It punishes the child because the child didn't decide to be born. You can be mad at the parents or whatever, but you'll always have parents who are, either have, children by accident or who live outside their means. You're always going to have that. You're punishing the child actively by doing that.
Why did he say it? He said it to sound tough. But tough on who? Tough on kids. Sorry, tough on kids in poverty. That's who Labour thinks it should take the fight to these days. Now, if Labour won't even oppose Tory policies which drive children into poverty, then I have to ask you, what's the point? Now, when asked what their plan for growth was, Rachel Reeves, the Shadow Chancellor, said it was getting people off benefits. Now, we heard that before. It means hammering benefit claimants. That's what...
Yeah, we've seen that under George Osborne. Like, right now, benefits are very low, but yet we are seeing record levels of job vacancies. We are seeing, I think, more and more people, fall out of kind of work because of sickness. It's not down to people just living a life of benefits. It's complete garbage from the start.
What George Osborne did. Do you remember that, producing growth, when he did that? So why do you think it will be any different just because it's the same policy, but this time with a Labour rosette stuck to it? Hammering the struggling, but championing the rich. Now, the wealth of the UK's billionaires has gone up by over 1,000% in the last 3 decades. And with the country in the state it's in, I think we can all agree they can afford to pay a little bit more. But not only is Labour refusing to tax the rich, Rachel Reeves even told the Tory Telegraph newspaper that she may...
Yeah. I think it was a percentage was higher, I think it was like most of the people that are on benefits are in work, or a lot of like the DWP's money goes on pensions and things as well.
On them, handing them even more dosh as a country falls apart. In other words, the Liz Truss approach. They've even or robbing Peter to pay Paul. They're even using the exact same arguments and language as George Osborne and other Tories when they justified cuts, like maxing out the nation's credit card and there being no money left.
There's not a magic money tree.
They've spent all the money, they've maxed out the country's credit card.
National credit card maxed out.
It was economically illiterate lies.
That is true. When George Osborne said it was wrong. But yeah, one of the problems these guys get into, like the Labour socialite, is when they say, well, Starmer's doing the right thing, so he's got the 20-point lead because of the stuff he's saying, which we know is garbage. It's because the Tories are complete trash. They're fighting each other, right? So it's not really down to Labour what they've said. I think for the most part anyways, in my opinion. So, the argument of, well, we can't get complacent now, we need to back Labour and whatever, like, you should, if you deserve criticism, you should get it, especially before an election's called, way out of an election, because Labour have a chance to fix up. That's the whole point. Like, that's what these guys don't get. There was more stuff on top, but there's bits of this video I disagreed with. The bit where he kind of... this bit was actually good.
He backed war crimes. Specifically, he backed the right of Israel to cut off water and energy to civilians.
Cutting off power, cutting off water.
Well, I think that Israel does have that right.
He then let multiple shadow cabinet ministers go on TV and either back or refuse to condemn war crimes, including my own MP, Emily Thornberry.
This is the key here. This is where, people argued that Starmer was taken out of context, genuinely have no leg to stand on, because the shadow ministers come out and backed it.
I think cutting off food, water and electricity is within international law.
I think that Israel has an absolute right to defend itself against terrorism.
That's not the question I asked.
It is an answer to the question that you've asked, and I think it's an appropriate one at this time.
Well, there you go. She backed it. She's a member of the shadow cabinet. If she did not say what Starmer had said, Starmer should have he should have reprimanded her, or she should have been sacked from the shadow cabinet. The last time I checked, she's still in the shadow cabinet.
Weeks later, having refused to withdraw those comments or apologise, he said, "It has never been my view that Israel had the right to cut off water, food, fuel or medicines. International law must be followed." Even though we heard what he said.
I think that Israel does have that right. I was not saying that Israel had the right to...
It took him about 2 weeks to correct the record on this, by the way.
...off water, food, fuel or medicines.
Again, another example of his pathological dishonesty. And he never had an excuse to begin with. He's a human rights lawyer. He knows what the Geneva Conventions say. Well, we've all got our red lines in politics. Mine is actively supporting war crimes. I've got to be honest with you, and I'm going to say it. I think it's sick. I think it's depraved. And that alone makes that man unfit for high office. When most of us have a moral compass, for most of the people running the Labour Party, there's just a black hole. And if you back war crimes once, you'll do it again. I think these people would go to war because they think it'd make them look tough.
You know what is interesting, actually? There was something here, actually, that I saw Graham Hughes try and pick holes in.
I've done fundraiser after fundraiser. My parents even met at a Labour Party meeting. Romantic. On my 15th birthday, my mum bought me a Labour Party membership as a present. I know. What a loser. My cat's even named after Keir Hardie. He's a...
So, you know, like, the argument of he joined the Labour Party war, joined the Iraq War doesn't make sense when his mum got him the membership. Like, I don't know what the argument some people are making. It doesn't make sense. The only real criticism I have is I think the way he kind of is pushing this fundraising thing, it feels like an American kind of PAC kind of thing. We deserve better, and it's going to back, you know, left-wing candidates. I would have pushed the fact that it's going to back left-wing Labour candidates as well as others who are pushing progressive policies. I think I would have made sure that it's clear that it's backing Labour candidates as well as others, rather than backing other candidates as well as some Labour MPs. I think that's where he misplayed, I think, pretty badly there. So I think that's one of the differences I would have made, I think, in terms of the way I would have said it. But, you know, I've seen some arguments of, oh, he's helping the Tories and blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's have a look at those. So you got Arena Perkins, who was mad, saying, I have a lot of respect for Owen Jones. I cannot get behind this call to split the vote, split the left of centre vote. Sure, Labour leave much to be desired, but anything could lead to another, Tories for another 4 more years. He goes, I made the point there's literally no chance of the Tories winning the next election. Starmer's allies only claim so because they want a huge majority. And so all of the people who keep saying you can't criticise Labour, or Labour have got a 20-point lead and blah, 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 right? They cannot then argue, we need to back Labour no matter what, and we can't be criticising of them or whatever, because clearly the criticisms aren't working. If Labour have earned this lead, whatever criticisms we may have of Labour are clearly wrong, unless you accept the fact that the only reason Labour have this lead is because the Tories have botched it. Let's be honest, Marina isn't very politically astute. I don't know. I think she's okay. I don't really have massive issues with her, but for her to say in 2019, the issue is as simple as people not knowing which parties are pro-Remain and which aren't. If you're Remain, be sure to vote either Lib Dem, Green, or TIG, which was, what were they again? What did TIG stand for? I can't remember. And then get down to the business of manifesto specifics at a later date. So here she's clearly backing centre-left other parties. So there's a problem here with people in kind of the Labour social crowd and amongst the centre-left, right? They keep saying we have to fall in line, we have to back Labour no matter what, right? These are the same people who in 2019 in 2017 were splitting the vote. So these people cannot argue we need to fall in line. The ones who can argue that are the ones who voted Labour when they didn't want to under Miliband, maybe under Corbyn. They're the ones who can argue fall in line. The rest cannot, no one else can argue fall in line. None of them. We're talking a bit more. Here you've got Supertansky criticising Labour, telling them to get effed. Labour needs to stop this insane BS. This isn't This isn't just enraging to certain left-wing factions. It's enraging to every Labour member with a sense. This is talking about Thatcher. Thatcher being called a visionary. Thatcher getting a lot of praise. The independent group, nice. So this is what I mean here. This is her criticising Labour. So is this not helping the Tories? Is she not actively helping the Tories by criticising Labour over the Thatcher thing? Genuine. When are we allowed to criticise Labour? When aren't we? When are you a Tory enabler? When are you not? This is the thing I don't get with these people. There's a bit more here. Unless you bring up Thatcher in the context of being relieved she's no longer here, blah, blah, blah. Let's see, it reads a lot better. Nonsense, whatever. And then this is another one. So, to make my position as a Labour member clear, I'd like to reiterate my support for the legend of a man, blah, 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 saying they don't like Thatcher, right? And so here you've got what's his name, Stephen Flynn, saying this about the Labour front bench.
Benchers looking for a unity candidate to replace him. Which of the now numerous...
This is hilarious, by the way.
Born-again Thatcherites on the Labour front bench does he believe best fits the bill?
That's what I mean. So all of these people on the front bench praising Thatcher, right? Flynn criticised him for that, and what's the response? Nice that he gave Sunak ammo to big himself and dump on Labour. This is why I broadly don't like Flynn. He's a gift for Tories on occasion. Regarding the comments that I made it clear. So Stephen Flynn not allowed to criticise Labour for backing Thatcher, but Stu Patansky is allowed to criticise Labour for saying nice things about Thatcher. Please make it make sense. Please make it make sense. When are we allowed to criticise Labour? When aren't we? Genuinely. Because here you have someone criticising Labour who also pushes the fall in line mentality. I don't get it. I don't get it, guys. There was another thing I actually wanted to discuss. Bear with. Sorry, it's my message to my friend. It's talking about playing a game. There was one more thing I wanted to actually discuss, but I've got it way up here that I thought was probably worth covering. It's quite an old video. Okay, here we go.
Hi, my name's...
Yeah, we might as well discuss this as well, because we're going to talk about the other geezer in the channel. So, he's got timestamps here, nice.
Conservatives in government. I don't really like those policies. So people keep saying to me, well, then you should switch to the Lib Dems. They've got this clear for the Lib Dems. So that's what I'm going to explain, using an example of some of their behaviour this week. But first, if you find yourself enjoying the video, then please click against or for any particular party. If people would like to not vote Conservative or Brexit Party at the general election, if you're a citizen who can take part in those elections, then that would be fantastic. But beyond that, I'm not really going to say. If you are happy to vote for the Lib Dems, if Labour have turned you off, then that's fine. That's your choice. That's not what this is about.
So that's fine. 2019, this is fine, right? There we go. Look, let's have a listen.
A citizen who can take part in those. So first of all, what I'm not trying to do here is persuade anyone to vote against or for any particular party. If people would like to not vote Conservative or Brexit Party at the general election, if you're a citizen who can take part in those elections, then that would be fantastic. But beyond that, I'm not really going to say. If you are happy to vote for the Lib Dems, if Labour have turned you off, then that's fine. That's your choice. That's not what this is about.
So now all of these people who say, oh, we need to vote tactically, get the Tories out at all costs and whatever, right? These same people back then said, oh, if you don't want to vote for Labour, that's fine. Vote for the Lib Dems or something else. Where's the push for tactical voting? Where's the, oh, you're helping the Tories by not voting for the most likely candidate to get rid of Labour? Do you guys see what I'm saying here? Like, I don't get it. Like, where is the line here? Because again, this is 2019. This would have been the best chance to stop a hard Brexit. This election right here, this would have been the best chance to stop a hard Brexit. And you had these people who said, oh, if you don't want to vote Labour, that's fine. Just please don't vote Conservative or for the Brexit Party. Where is the line, people? And this is what I mean here. This is where they get mad. And, they'll say, oh, it's the left that cost them an election. That's fine. Blame us.
That's right. Don't blame yourself. Blame me.
Pulling out the soundboard again.
I fail to see the logic here. The price to pay for power.
What's going on here? Genuinely, like, I don't get it. So criticise Labour back then, that's fine. Criticise Labour now, you're enabling the Tories. And there are a lot of people back then who said, oh, just join the Tory party then if you don't want to vote Labour, whatever. They're idiots. They're idiots for saying that. Just like these people are idiots now. It's Labour's job to appeal to people. If they're not appealing to left-wing voters, that's on them. You can't vote shame people. It doesn't work. It's not good. That's not democratic. This whole argument of, that they made back then. The Tories were just as bad in 2019. Just as bad. Austerity was still there. Brexit was still there. Nothing much really changed. Maybe these people have realised, like, oh, we just need to fall in line and back Labour no matter what, just get rid of the Tories. But how did it take you 9 years into the Tories being in charge to realise how bad the Tories were? I don't get it. I'm baffled. He didn't care when it was Corbyn, now it's Starmer. Yeah, he's a fanboy. I don't get it. And this is... This is what I'm talking about here.
I'm talking ideals.
What is wrong with these people? I don't get it. Oh, that one doesn't work. This one does though. Wait.
Stings, doesn't it?
Yeah, that one works. Effectively, these people might as well say like, yeah, you know, we're going to be a fan of centre left kind of, you know, dodgy economic policies where they push Tory fiscal rules and all of this stuff, and then just say,
I know you understand.
I'm baffled, guys. I don't get it. Like this stuff, like, you know, like it's just it's crazy. These people are crazy. Like vote shaming people, saying, oh, you know, that thing that Labour said that they would not do or would do, they're actually not gonna. They're gonna do the opposite of that, because that, you know, like I don't get it, guys. Like what none of this makes sense. You know, all the bad policies that Labour are saying they're going to do or keep, they're saying, oh, Labour aren't going to do that. And all the good policies Labour keeps saying they're not going to do, people are saying, well, you know, Labour might do it. And then they add their own. Then they add their own policies. They're like, oh yeah, Labour, you know, they should do PR. It's like, they're not fucking going to do PR. Like, stop it. Stop it. I think the logic is, let them get into power for... No, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Because these are things they are pushing, right? These are things that are going to end up in the manifesto. These are genuinely dumb. That's a dumb take. I'm sorry, elf tax. That's a dumb take right there. Let them get into power before criticising them. Let's make them make mistakes first before we say anything. That's stupid. That's stupid. What we should be looking at is a policy for change. That's what we should be looking at. I saw another video of him saying, oh, you know, whenever, like, the radical, like, it was kind of dumb, like, it's kind of comparing Starmer a bit to Attlee. Like, it didn't make sense, some of the stuff that he does come out with. But genuinely, guys, like, the idea of we shouldn't criticise Labour now, and just let them get into power, and then when they make bad mistakes, that's when we should criticise them, is stupid. They're actively saying they're going to make dumb decisions. They're actively saying they're not going to raise taxes on the rich. They're actively not saying they're going to change capital gains tax rules. They're actively not saying they're going to do House of Lords reform. They're actively saying they're not going to do massive green investment. What are we supposed to do? All that does is allow the right-wing press... Do you know what we should do, right? Under your logic, elf tax, right? What we should have done is, we should have backed Brexit, right? Under your logic, backed Brexit, and then only criticise it when it goes wrong. Because infighting now will split the Labour vote. Do you know who's splitting the Labour vote? Do you know who's doing that? It's this guy right here who's praising Thatcher. That's splitting the Labour vote. Who's splitting the Labour vote are a Labour Party actively campaigning kind of centre policies. That's what's splitting the party. You know, this idea makes zero sense. Like, if you're one of the Labour social goons, that's fair. You know, I can kind of see it. But point being is, why would we just let them get into power and not criticise them? It doesn't make any sense. They've actively said they will do these things. And they've gone against some really good policies that they had. So why would we just give them carte blanche over it? It doesn't make sense. Genuine, this is just befuddlement. Actual befuddlement. I don't have the soundboard keys to answer the stupidity I'm seeing here. But what you might as well say is...
Start praying, boy! Ah!
That's what you're saying. We vote them in, give them a massive majority, and...
Start praying, boy! Ah!
Yeah, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. These people are just making up their own policies, saying, oh, these are things Labour could do or should do, and blah, 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 saying we shouldn't criticise Labour because that's helping the Tories.
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
That's their source. Oops, that's their source right there. That's their source. Honestly. So here we have a guy saying, oh, you know, if you don't want to vote Labour, that's fine, whatever. And then we have the king of kings here, the guy who's made the most videos about Owen Jones. He loves Owen Jones. What's his name? Graham Hughes. Graham Hughes, right? The irony is Graham Hughes actively campaigned against the Labour MP. Graham Hughes campaigned against a Labour MP. Hughes wrote to his local Labour MP, Stephen Twigg, threatening to stand against him in an upcoming election if he voted with the Conservative Party to activate Article 50, without protection for EU citizens living in the UK or British citizens. And I'm sure Stephen Twigg was scared. He was terrified, quaking he was. But when Theresa May called the snap general election, Hughes, true to his word, returned to the UK to run against Twigg as an independent candidate. He received 0.7% of the vote. Subsequently lost his deposit. So this is a guy who says we've got to fall in line behind Labour. Stop criticising Labour. Labour will do the right things. We'll push him to the left. We'll get PR, blah, 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 blah.
My source is that
he keeps pushing these things, right? He actively campaigned against a Labour MP. The people who are saying fall in line, take orders, yeah. The people were saying, "Oh, you're a Tory enabler if you're saying bad things about Labour," right? This motherfucker right here ran in an election against a Labour candidate over Brexit. So it's okay, you know, when it's your ideals, but it's okay when it's Brexit stuff and all this stuff, right? To criticise Labour, to go against Labour actively. But now your boy's in charge, now Starmer's in charge, and now it's all, nah, we can't do that, bruh. Honestly, I don't, it doesn't make sense, you know, ideologically, like, whatever's going on behind the scenes, I don't know, but for these people to go from such a huge shift doesn't make any sense. Especially when they claim they're left-wing. If they're so left-wing, they would have been a lot nicer to Corbyn, because Corbyn had economic policies they would have wanted. Say what you want about the guy, there's a lot I don't like about him, about Corbyn. There was a lot of stuff he let slide, a lot of stuff he should have done much, much better. And, you know, he let his friendship with certain characters get in the way of running a coherent campaign. But the idea that, you know, these guys are left-wing and, you know, they're not happy with Starmer, but, you know, we have to vote Labour to get the Tories out, that's fine. Where was that energy in 2017 and 19, though? I don't remember it very much. You know, Hughes has been a vocal advocate of running for Remain. He stood as a Lib Dem candidate in the local elections in his home ward of Notty Ash. Labour came third with just over 6% of the vote. So he ran twice against Labour candidates and lost twice. I guess if you can't beat him, join him, huh? That's what he's done here. Presumably Hughes is not a Labour member as he stood against Lib Dem. He could be a Labour member now, to be fair. Yeah, to be fair, he won it through a game show. I'm not going to criticise him for that. But this whole argument of fall in line makes 0 sense. 0 sense, guys. Let's go back through this, right? So Owen Jones quits Labour, and he's actively campaigning for left-wing MPs, and the argument of he's helping the Tories is like, do you know who's helping the Tories? Labour, when they keep saying dumb shit. That helps the Tories. Labour saying, you know, backing Israel in their initial campaign in Gaza, which killed a lot of civilians, and when they were doing collective punishment, but when they started up doing collective punishment, Labour said, no, that's fine, whatever. Israel has a right to defend itself, right? That's fine under these guys' logic. That's fine, right? But the moment you criticise Labour for backing war criminals, no, that's a red line for me. How could you do that? That's not very nice. You're helping the Tories. But what I don't, it's crazy, guys. You know, the moment Labour do bad things, we're not allowed to talk about it, because if we talk about it, we're enabling the Tories. And then they say, oh, but Labour clearly doing the right thing because they're 20 points ahead. But then if Labour are doing so well, who cares if we criticise them? Because clearly we're not having an impact. Labour's own bad decisions are not having an impact. I think the argument, if it's close run criticism is fine. If they're miles ahead, you're a Tory enabler. Yeah, or whatever. I don't know, man. I just...
I fail to see the logic here. The price to pay for power.
Is it genuine? Like when I made that video, I think about last year over the protest stuff, it was wild. It was actually wild, and you see this stuff here, and you're like, what? You know, what's changed? This lot are they're washed. They're just so washed. I don't think they know it yet. I hope when Labour win, I hope they stand on business. I hope they stand on business and criticise Labour. I really do. I'll be here doing the same thing, doing videos. Hopefully, I'll be here criticising them if they do bad shit, just like I am now. No, nothing's going to change in that regard. I'll criticise anyone with bad policies. I'll praise anyone with good policies. But you know, if they don't win,
that's right. Don't blame yourself. Blame me.
What's this one? Oh, sorry, I can't remember which button that was. But yeah, I don't get it, guys. I can give you guys a minute to discuss this one if you want, and then we can move on to the next topic. It's up to you guys, honestly, because I've got to eat in about. I've got to refresh all these tabs as well. Great, you hate to see it. Is this gonna play? No, it's not gonna play. Okay, I'll have to refresh all these tabs anyways. Is there anything else further you guys want to discuss on this? I'm gonna have to sort these videos out later then. As you can see, I'm very organised. I was not playing Helldivers before the stream. Remember, Graham, Bowler, Hatman, and Phil all argued for a pause, not a ceasefire. That's true. But yeah, they're just trying to like stay in line with Labour. To be honest, I don't get what they're doing. Go another 2 minutes if you guys got anything further you want to say on this particular topic. I don't want to spam my soundboard, but again, I want to show how cool my logo is, how cool it is. No, this is how they're acting, right? This is what they think will happen when Labour win an election. They think this is what's going to happen.
Assembled all. Exodia, it's not possible. No one's ever been able to call. Obliterate!
This is the guy they think Starmer is. They think he's Yami Yugi when he took on bloody Seto Kaiba. That's what they think is going to happen. They're going to see that Exodia obliterate. That's not going to happen. They might see this though.
Are you okay? Snake? Snake!
The knight. I need a knight thingy. I need one for knights on my soundboard. Phil thought the SNP motion. I mean, to be fair, like the guy, with the thing is with some people, right? They don't do enough research on certain topics. So what happens is they end up looking stupid when they cover them. That's why I ask the audience for a lot of help on certain topics, or I bring on someone who actually knows what they're talking about. That's why I want to bring random Scottish history to talk about Scotland. That's the point. So yeah, that'd be good. So yeah, there's that. But we'll move on. We'll move on to the next stuff. Yeah, I did debate Bowler Hatman, and yeah, if you haven't seen it, don't watch it because it's awful. It's the worst thing ever. But let's move on to this. So government's plans for asylum accommodation will cost more than using hotels. Large sites are housing fewer people than planned. We found that the UK Home Office expects to spend 1.2 billion on its large sites program. So this is about the Bibli Stockholm and all of the kind of other stuff. So rather than putting that money, imagine they put 1.2 billion into processing claims, right? Imagine they put that money into processing people's claims. How far into the backlog we would be. But instead they waste it on gimmicks. Will we end up with a conversation-free zone? The results of the next election won't be me, dog. Won't be me. We'll be here. We'll be here talking or smoking the pack. That's what will be happening over here. That's all you'll see over here. The only things that are going to remain are me walking into hell and criticising people when they deserve it. When I think they deserve it. Regardless of consequence there. That's all you guys are going to see on this channel anyways. On the other channel, I don't know. Conservative free zone. Sorry, I thought you said conversation free zone. A conservative. No, they'll guarantee they'll have a couple of MPs. They'll be on GB News and stuff. They'll be around. They'll be around. That's for sure. It's not an issue. I don't know about that. I think it's an issue. But this is when you happen when you argue about ideals.
I'm talking ideals.
That's what happens. Bad shit.
I'm not surprised.
That's how I feel about these guys. How's Phil going to spin the Labour post? Spin Labour's post next election? Well, unless he gets a job with Labour, I can't imagine it's going to go too well. I'm sure he'll find ways to criticise, to praise Labour. And when we ask about sources, he'll say,
"My sources that I made it the fuck up."
I don't know, guys. I don't get it. But, this is how these guys see themselves. That's how these guys see themselves, so that's kind of how I see me, to be fair, so I can't really criticise them too much for being big-headed. But anyway, so the government's spending more, 1.2 billion on the large sites. So Labour have no choice. Yep. Despite the fact that Clement Attlee founded the NHS on an economy that had 200% debt to GDP ratio, despite the fact that Clement Attlee achieved that, he had to make cutbacks. Yeah, but he stood on business. Starmer not going to do it. Currently, I feel I cannot vote for Labour come the next election. Vote with your conscience. Don't let them vote shame you. Don't let them say, "Oh, you're a Tory enabler." The only ones who are enabling the Tories at that point are the Labour Party. That's it. Because at the end of the day, politics is about winning votes. The number one key thing in politics is get the vote out. You have to get people out to vote. And the Labour Party clearly aren't doing that with certain people. They've made calculations. What you've seen is aggressive triangulation. That's it. Let's carry on. So this from the Labour peer, I think.
Referred to the cost of hotels. Well, we know.
It's all right. I've got to go off in about half an hour anyways. I've got to eat.
As Lord Coker said a few minutes ago, and I think the right figure is £592 million to keep 300 people in Rwanda for 3 years. That's...
If you want to vote Green, I'm not gonna tell you how to vote. I don't think no one in the space should be telling people how to vote. No one should be calling anyone Tory enablers. Not really, unless they're making those accusations themselves. With these three, right? With Perkis, with Supertansky, with Graham, with Phil, right? Or not actually Phil. I'll admit Phil, because Phil always said back Labour. With those three, with Graham, with Tansky, with what's the other one? With Perkis, right? They've actively said vote for pro-Remain parties. What are some Labour policies you back? I doubt you will know any of them because all you do is criticise. Well, what policies have stuck? What policies have stuck? Putting the non-dom tax money into the NHS. I support that one. What's it called? What's the other one? Abolishing the VAT or getting rid of the tax loopholes on private schools. Putting that money into public schools. Or they say public, into state schools. I back that one. Can you, just saying, right, without Googling, actually name me 5 Labour policies, yeah, that are still there on the table. That are still on the table. Nationalising railway, I back that as well. If they actually do that one. If they do it properly, I back that one. But, you know, you come out with these accusations, right, and you just look stupid. Because I know you've done this before. You've done this before. I remember this. You've been around for the channel for a long time now. If Labour deserve praise, I've given them praise. Where they deserve criticism, I give them criticism. You don't want to do this again. Let's look at Labour policies, right? Have we got anything up to date? Let's see what we got. So we've got his missions, but this is garbage. Let's get this is from January, right? Let's see what policy. This is the official Labour page, right? Let's see what we can gather from this. How long is this? It best not be too long. All right, let's have a look. This is very long. Okay. We're looking for policies here, guys. Stick to a tough fiscal rule with economic stability at the heart. Are you a fan of that? Introduce a new fiscal lock to bring economic security back to family finances. You want that? Set up a new office for value for money to ensure all taxpayers' money is spent wisely. This one's fine, but again, it's extra red tape. It's extra red tape I don't think the government should have to go through, because the Tories will get rid of it anyways. Half the government's consultancy spending by bringing in proper spending controls and having long-term staffing strategy. That's fine. This one's okay, but this one's a sticking plaster. I'm just asking what Labour policies he backs. I gave you 3. I gave you 3 Labour policies that, as far as I'm aware, still stand to this day, despite the fact that they've said they're not going to get rid of the private schools VAT exemption. They said they're going to do a tweak to it, not get rid of it. End the VIP fast lane, that's already gone. They're not using it because COVID's gone. Maintain unshakable commitment to NATO and our nuclear deterrent. Okay, that's fine. No one cares. Conduct a strategic defence review. This stuff's all fluff, boring. Strong on national defence, right? So on the economic stuff, they've got one good thing, one thing that's basically out of date. There's not much here. That's great, honestly. Secure borders. Here we go. We've got Army Man Starmer. Smash the criminal gangs by using counter-terrorist style tactics. That's fine. That's a good policy. But again, if we did more with foreign aid, we could reduce the amount of people that come here. If we actually held firm to our commitments to people from Afghanistan, there'd be less people crossing the channel. Deploy more police and investigators in a cross-border police unit. That's fine, but we also need more police officers to patrol the streets here. This one's fine. End hotel use for asylum seekers by clearing the backlog. Again, that's fine. These are okay policies. Mission government. This is my mission. You notice how he's on every page of this as well? This is cult of personality type stuff. So, get Britain building again by following strict rules and strengthen public finances. How? Okay, that's not really a policy. Switch on Great British Energy. By switching on Great British Energy, a new publicly owned clean energy company. Again, there's no detail there. Get the NHS back on its feet by paying doctors and nurses overtime for work in the evenings. I mean, that's good, but you are also going to burn them out further. But again, getting rid of the non-dom tax, I back that. Take back our streets by guaranteeing town centre police patrols in every community. Again, Labour have said they're not going to borrow money, so how are they going to afford to do that? These are all fluff. Most of this, 90% of this is fluff. 10% of it's okay. Like, there's nothing that fundamental here. The Tories have failed. Labour has changed. Labour has a plan for long-term growth. Our plan for growth is ambitious to secure the highest sustained growth in the G7. How are you going to achieve that? The people of Scotland might have something to say against nuclear deterrent as it's too close to the most populous. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Has he got the green spending pledge in here as well? Let's have a look. What's he got here? He talks about green steel, which is fine. Nothing here screams out, yeah, this is great. So again, like, I don't get your criticism saying like, I've named you 3 policies. Can you name me 5 policies that I haven't named? You can't name these ones. The non-dom tax, what's it called? Non-dom tax, the school VAT, and nationalising rail. Yeah, you can't name those 3 things. I challenge you to name me 5 things. 5. Yeah, I'll write it out for you here. Oh, I need to drop my microphone. Sorry about that. My desk isn't big enough for all the stuff I have. I'm not in the mood for people to mess around, honestly. Name 5 Labour policies. I challenge you to name me 5 Labour policies. Without the no non-dom tax. Yeah, I'll even write them out for you here. Abolish the non-dom tax. That's 1. Private school VAT. That's 2, and then nationalise trains. That's 3. There you go. Non-dom tax was taken from them by the Tories. Have not come up with how they will plug their gap. Now that's true. The only thing is that the Tories haven't implemented it properly. That's the thing. Oh yeah, windfall tax. That's 4. There you go. There you go. I gave you 4 there. So you now name me. All right. Thanks, Roshan. You name me now. Thanks for the €2 super chat. You now name me 5 policies of Labour that you like without those 4. I've given you 4 now. You give me 5 policies. And now I'm not going to wait for you to answer that because I don't think you've got anything. So I'm not going to derail the stream completely. But I should name me 5 because you seem like you know a lot about Labour. You know a lot about the policies, right? Name me 5 policies that Labour are still saying they're going to implement. And we'll carry on.
1.8 something million pounds per head. I haven't looked on the Ritz Paris website.
You're on quiet now, bro. You're on quiet now, bro. What's going on?
For some time. I may have had a meal there once at somebody else's expense, but my recollection of looking at that website is that one could keep somebody in that hotel for 3 years and have some money back at the cost that this process is, so the National Audit Office says, going to cost the country.
So here you have the hotels being cheaper, and you could keep someone at some of the swankiest hotels in the world, and it'll still be cheaper.
Yeah,
this from Kinnock.
Mr. Speaker, the only special or unique...
Yeah, they keep changing policies. But, it's my job. It's meant to be my job to keep up with some of this stuff. So again, is little bro going to have anything to say?
Status in terms of the aspects of this bill and the treaty that accompany it that can be found are in its extortion.
No. You said I don't know any, right? I asked you, because you're the expert now. You're the one who keeps saying all I do is criticise Labour, right? You name me 5 Labour policies that you like now. Let's hear it. Please put it in the chat. Please put it in the chat. I'll get not even 5. Give you 4. 4 actual good policies. I'd love to hear it. 4 you're in favour of. Let's do that.
Implementation costs, its unlawful nature, and its glaring unworkability. Indeed,
cost 21k to process an asylum seeker in the UK. That can't be right. That's way too much. That's way too much to process someone's claim. That doesn't make any sense.
As I move into the details of these amendments, I feel it's important to point out that since the Rwanda bill was last debated in this place, even more evidence of the...
Look, you come out here with all of this smoke, right? You come out here with all of this smoke, right? All of this bravado saying, I can't name any and blah, 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 right? And as soon as I hit back, it's thank you for naming it. You've done this before, mate. Just stop doing it. Just stop doing it.
Astonishing unaffordability of the scheme has come to light. This failing scheme was already costing the British taxpayer almost £400 million, even though not a single asylum seeker has been sent to Rwanda, but every new detail is more astounding than the last. And we recently learned that the first 300 asylum seekers to be sent to Rwanda would cost the British taxpayer an extra £200 million on top of that, earning an invoice worth £570 million from the Rwandan government for just 1% of the 30,000 asylum seekers who crossed the small boats last year. That's almost £2 million per asylum seeker. Just let that sink in for a moment. £2 million to send just one asylum seeker from the UK.
This is the flagrant waste of taxpayers' money. Flagrant waste of taxpayers' money. This from the BBC. Oh, this from Politics Live, where you have Tories a Brexit food tax.
Prices are rising more slowly. Some will have come down. But the question is, are people starting to feel better off, Stella? I'm going to start.
I said thank you, soundboard boy. Okay, little bro. You come out here trying to smoke me. You come out here, thinking you're big man. You come out thinking you're big man, yeah, saying, oh, all you do, can you actually name any Labour policies? I bet you can't, because all you do is criticise. Yeah, and then as soon as I name some Labour Party policies that I like, you start playing, oh, thank you for saying these things. Oh, that's all I was asking. You come out with smoke, and you've been smoked. Just stop. You're embarrassing yourself.
Start with you.
No, of course they're not, because they've got massive personal debt.
You're embarrassing
in this country.
yourself.
And as you say, prices are just rising more slowly than the kind of rapacious rises we saw in the last couple of years, where literally...
And this is something the media need to do a lot better at when they talk about inflation, is the prices are rising slower.
You go into the shops one day and...
But they're still going up.
Something would cost 10p more than it was the day before. But the thing I don't really understand, and I heard the Chancellor earlier today talking about food inflation, is in a month or so's time, this government is about to introduce another whacking charge for importing food from Europe into the UK, which they...
This is something actually I need to do a separate piece on, because some of the border facilities they set up, they're not gonna work. As in all the stuff in Portsmouth, I think it is. The council spent millions of pounds on it. It's not going to do the checks, because the government have cut the amount of checks they're going to do.
They have said will be inflationary. If the target is to get inflation to keep coming down, why is this government introducing the Brexit border tax? Because that's just going to push up food prices and increase food shortages even more.
When will people start to feel better off, Paul?
Well, listen, they just can't say, well done, can they? They can't just say that the plan is working.
What plan? You've done nothing, big man. You've done nothing. Your plan was do nothing. Your plan was, if he dies, he dies.
And that's what's happening. If you look back some time ago, we had inflation at or around
11%.
10%.
11% it went to.
The rest of the world had...
I didn't say you couldn't name them. I just asked you to name them. You said, I bet you can't, because all you do is criticise. Where's your comment? Let's see if we can find it. He goes, look, this is what you put, right? Here, this is literally what you wrote, word for word, right? This is a quote from you today. You misspelt Labour, by the way. There's a U in it, so that's not going great for you, is it? So, literally what you've said, you're trying to gaslight the comment section now, because you're denying what we can read. I didn't say you couldn't name any of them. I doubt you know any of them, because all you do is criticise. Like, bro, you realise how stupid you made yourself look, right? Fair. Oh my, not even an apology. Check this brother's hard drive, honestly. Yeah, they spent 7 million, Portsmouth Council. They're asking for a refund. Yeah, they ain't getting that. But I will cover that in a separate video. I've got to clear this out first, and then I'll move on to new
levels
stuff.
of inflation as well. This was a global problem, but inflation is now down. It shows that the plan is working. Hopefully, people will soon start to see money in their pocket. £900.
This is honestly right. This is just a failure of the media, and I think Stella here. I think Stella should interrupt him and say, "Look, you're going to put inflation back up with this border tax." That's what I would have done. I think they need to be a lot more sharper on this stuff, honestly. At least she brought it up though. So this is Gullis talking about the economy.
The 28 billion, I mean, that was politically astute, because it did give you... It took away a stick that you were beating Labour with quite...
This is Labour dropping its Green Policy pledge.
Effectively, didn't it?
Well, I think it leans in exactly what we're saying, which is a Labour Party that will flip and flop at every turn. We don't actually know what it is they really stand for.
Or new to your
and most
attack,
importantly,
Jonathan, or new to the Tory attack.
And we don't really understand or really know now what the commitment is in terms of this green investment. What does it mean? How much will be invested? You know, there's lots of questions still lying out there about what will actually happen. Ultimately, what will happen is borrowing will go up, taxes will go up, and growth will go down, because as it always has done under a Labour government, as we saw 2008 to 2009.
It's a bit weird she put her arm on him like that, but anyways, like, so you're telling me taxes go up, borrowing will go up, and GDP will go down, growth will go down. Like, that doesn't make any sense unless Labour spend that money on drugs. Like, that's not going to happen. Oscar H.
As well as, let's not forget, the largest budget deficit, we inherited £150 billion a year back in 2010, which obviously had to be salted by David Cameron and George Osborne.
What is it
now,
now?
Jess, you know we had the COVID pandemic, we had the war in Ukraine.
We had the financial crash, the Great Recession. We had, I think, the biggest financial crash since the Great Depression. That's how bad the 2008 crash was. So when it's the Tories, it's, remember we had the pandemic, we had the Ukraine invasion. But when it comes to Labour, it's, you know, they crashed the economy. It's like the 2008 crash.
£500 billion worth of
There's
public
a fella
support
over
we
there
put into.
you could blame as well. There's always someone else's
They are real
fault.
events, unless you're saying COVID wasn't a real thing, which I would find bizarre. But ultimately, what happened is we gave furloughs, 80% of people's salary was paid.
I mean, I don't get why she can't argue against this stuff. It's not even that hard.
It's not work. Businesses getting grants and loans.
Do you think that the deficit that you inherited was then because of the global banking crash, or was that the Labour Party?
It was very...
I stand down on that one. That's what she said.
Reckless spending from a Labour government that was overspending what it had brought in. And using dangerous PFI...
She did, yeah.
Contracts as we have in Stoke with a hospital, which has now got 200 fewer beds.
Yeah, but to be fair, the economy wasn't in a stronger position as it should have been.
Than when it was than the old building, and actually stealing 20 million a year from the front line, and 88 schools in a PFI contract as well.
14 years. Maybe you could have got some more beds out of them.
Well, we actually have. We got £30 million that's built 140 new beds. So I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to push the plug of that, Jess, as well as obviously a new Hayward Walk-in Centre outpatient building.
Would you like to look into the barrel of the camera and say that the NHS is better than it was 14 years ago to your constituents?
In Stoke-on-Trent, where's the camera? Stoke-on-Trent has seen hundreds of millions of pounds into our local NHS, and I'll proudly say that when we're on the stump.
It's not what she asked him to say, though, is it? Labour responsible for the subprime? Nope, they are not. But they didn't keep our economy in a strong position as it should have been in. There should have been much more regulations on the banks and other things. That was one of the things that did us in. Mark Carney, who was the chief of the Canadian Central Bank, I think at the time, put stronger regulations in, and Canada wasn't affected as badly as we were. There's a bit more here.
I guess the point is that you talk about the toughest inheritance, or she has, about that any other previous government has faced. So that's the reality of what you're dealing with. Do you worry, let's put it another way, do you worry that the economic offering that you're going to give the country isn't where you would like to be, that you aren't going to offer people inspiration? Is it a bit depressing for you, that?
Not at all, because I think we do offer credible hope for the future. We've seen what happens when a government comes forward, as Liz Truss's government did, with a host of tax cuts that were unfunded. We've seen the turmoil that caused...
Again, like, her tax cuts did the damage because it wasn't going to grow the economy. That was the problem. There was no return on investment there.
Markets. We've seen the incredible damage that did to our international reputation. So to be and aspire to be a government, if we have the privilege of becoming one, that has that fiscal stability over the medium term, that is precisely what attracts investment.
How long is the medium term, guys? Are we saying 5 to 10 years?
What attracts investment here and indeed from overseas is knowing that that stability is in place in the medium term.
What attracts investment is normally infrastructure projects. When you look at America, when you look at the Inflation Reduction Bill, there's infrastructure projects there, there's green investment there. That's attracting a lot of investment. Those are the things that grant investment, not boring secure-onomics.
And that's exactly what a Labour government will provide.
I think we're going to be hearing a lot more of the motto, stability is change. Am I correct?
Strong and stable with Theresa May.
Given the events of the last few years, 5 Prime Ministers, 7 Chancellors, there's no doubt that stability is a massive change from the government we've just seen.
Okay. That is true, to be fair. Stability would be a big change from this lot.
There's a real difference between the way that we would approach public services if we won the next election, because we've already set out specific loopholes that we would close to get an immediate injection of cash into the NHS, into schools and so on.
So that's the non-dom tax and the VAT.
But we know that in the medium and long term, the only way to have that sustainable revenue for public services is to get the economy growing. And so that's why it could be a virtuous circle where strong public services support economic growth, and economic growth makes people better off, as well as getting the tax receipts to invest in public services.
Again, this will take many years for this slow kind of progress to work. You know, if it hits year 3 and 4 and Labour haven't achieved a lot, that's nervy.
The non-DOMs I'm going to come back to, because obviously the Conservatives have now closed that loophole and you haven't yet revealed how.
They haven't closed it well.
You're going to replace that money to spend in the NHS. Let me come back to that. There is a contradiction here, isn't there? She's signing up to the Conservatives' budget, but she says strong public services need economic growth. How do you square those two things?
Well, look, the Conservatives haven't even set out the detail of what will happen, you know, after the next general election if they won.
But why would you stick to the Conservatives' budget then if you don't know what they're even going to put in?
The OBR has, and they say 2.3% in unprotected departments.
Well, they haven't set out the detail, so we will see what we inherit, but we're very clear about the difference we would make immediately with those loopholes, and then we come back to this point about economic growth, because it is front and centre of everything we want to do. You know, we know that if we won the election, we would inherit a mess where the economy isn't working, people are worse off, public services are on their knees, and that's why Rachel set out this fundamentally different direction, this new approach to the economy, to rebuild the economy on these foundations of strength and security and get the economy growing.
She noted in her lecture tonight that public services are at breaking point now.
Yes, and that's why the immediate injection of cash is so important. But as I said...
Forgive me, there won't be an immediate injection of cash because the Conservatives have already closed the loopholes on non-DOMs, and you haven't told us where that's coming from or if it's coming.
Well, on the other loopholes we set out, which are to do with private schools, VAT and business rates and private equity. But if I just say on the non-DOMs point, we are still committed to the investment...
This is what I mean, like, it's not looking too good, is it? More Keir Starmer leaving Parliament in 2 to 3 years. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. I think he might.
My fellow podcaster, so I'm about to run to the break. Stability is the change. I mean, it might not be.
That's a continuation of the other.
But you know, it really, really matters. I have watched the city that I live in have investment that wasn't there when I was a kid brought into it because of the promise of, you know, the big infrastructure, the HS2, and actually. The problem...
So you saw your constituency getting money because of HS2. That's a big investment then.
That we are now facing and that north of Birmingham faces is that we now don't know what's going to happen. This constant chopping and changing on things that were meant to drive our country forward. It has just been so tiring. And unfortunately, what it has done is if you look at our rates, if you want some facts, if you look at rates of inward investment and investment within our country, it has been woeful. And we need
So let's look at the logic here, right? HS2 going into Birmingham has brought in a lot of investment into Birmingham. That's what she said, right?
And actually, do you know what? It seems boring, but do you know, it really, really matters. I have watched the city that I live in have investment that wasn't there when I was a kid brought into it because of the promise of, you know, the big infrastructure, the HS2, and actually the problem.
So HS2, she's saying, brought in infrastructure, brought in investment into Birmingham, right? And then, so that's a big infrastructure project. And then she's trying to combat Labour being boring by saying that HS2 has brought in money to a city. It doesn't make sense.
The problem that we are now facing and that north of Birmingham faces is that we now don't know what's going to happen. This constant chopping and changing on things that were meant to drive our country forward. It has just been so tiring. And unfortunately, what it has done is if you look at our rates, if you want some facts, if you look at rates of inward investment and investment within our country, it has been woeful.
So HS2 brought in investment into Birmingham, but Labour aren't going to do lots more investment projects, right? But HS2 is the thing that got her investment into her city. But Labour aren't going to do more investments because of boring securonomics. How does that make sense? They're saying we need to invest we need to increase inward investment into the UK, but we're not going to spend the money to do it. We're not going to put the money. Oh Jesus, the demon is here. I don't get it, guys. I've got to wrap this up in the next few minutes. See, Tories are going to turn on Sunak if there's a bloodbath at the election. You love to see it. This is the part 2 I was meant to do of the other video I did. Number 10 is now ruling out holding an election in the summer. Comes after Sunak threatened an earlier than expected election if MPs go against the PM. This is good. The project should have started in the north. Yes, it should have done. It was meant to start in Scotland originally and come all the way down south, but they stopped doing it. And the fact that, you know, EU member states are building kind of high-speed rail to connect the countries together within the EU, and we can't even build a high-speed rail that connects London to Bradford. It's kind of nuts when you think about it. They're connecting countries together. Like I think they want to connect Prague to Berlin. We can't connect Leeds to London. There's some alliteration. There's a bit of O'Brien for you there. But yeah, there's more.
Conservatives have submitted letters of no confidence in Rishi Sunak.
Well, I mean, only Sir Graham Brady, the chairman of the 22, has the numbers, Kay. I don't know.
If that were to be the case, that would be shocking.
Well, look, I think that the time for sending letters has long past, if it ever arose, frankly. You know, we've had leadership elections. I don't think the public is interested in the Conservative Party navel-gazing. What the public expect and what they're getting from the Prime Minister and from the majority, the vast majority of Conservative colleagues, is an outward-facing, public-focused approach on issues like the economy, on health, on immigration, that
Ahoy, Cthulhu.
matter to the people who send us to Westminster. That, if we get that focus right, then we can win.
What would you say to your colleagues who are trying to unseat the Prime Minister?
I would say that to try and do that in an election year would be an act of folly. Let's keep calm.
I've done Prague to Berlin, only a few hours. I think they want it to be faster. I think they want it to be high speed.
And carry on. We're turning the corner on the economy. Inflation.
Yeah, congrats, Reagan. You hit 1K, so if you haven't subscribed to Reagan, which I'm sure most of you have done already, you should go do it.
It's coming down, growth's coming back. We're seeing those mortgage rates not rising as steeply as we feared. That's all.
Wait till Thursday to see what happens.
Well,
as far as that's concerned.
I agree with that, Kay, and that's why I don't pretend we're out of the woods, and I share, you know, the anxieties of people.
This is just, it's kind of embarrassing, this whole argument. But you know, he's saying he wants change and he's ready to shift Sunak for it. Tom Tog on his hat apparently wants to be considered, even though he's boring like Sunak. He's boring like Sunak. So I don't know what they want there. Another boring geezer.
So for you, though, you think...
This is where it gets fun, the Tories telling each other to stop fighting.
Think an election in October, November give the time for economic upturn if that's what happens? Is that where you're at?
Yes, I think we're going to see that. I mean, we know inflation's falling. We know it will fall further. We know that we'll then see rates coming down. We know that people will start to feel better. They've had 2 tax cuts that they'll start to notice. And also, it will give us a chance, if my colleagues would shut up for 10 minutes, to be able to show that it's not a referendum on the government, it's a choice between a Conservative government and a Labour government. And this Labour Party doesn't have any clear alternatives on Rwanda. It doesn't have any clear alternatives on the economy. This is the most...
That's true.
It is, yeah. But it's an opposition. It's an opposition that is almost scared for there to be clear blue water between the parties.
We need to see a change, and we need to see something bolder in number 10, and that isn't currently Keir Starmer. But after election, potentially Green MPs can have a good influence on at least a Labour government.
Yeah, like... You know, he's saying, stop fighting, guys, and we can get to a hate match. I got it. 30p signed to reform within the week. Yeah, he did, yeah. Was that Piers Morgan walking out in the background? That's a good question. Let's see. Where? That's definitely not Piers Morgan there. I can't see him anywhere in this clip. Is he there? No. So if you can hear background noise. Gullis
Do what
as well.
Stuart did and say I'm not going to compare him because he's the Prime Minister. But what I do like, my favourite football manager is Roy Hodgson because as a Fulham fan...
My favourite football manager is Roy Hodgson. Bruh, you're telling me you could have Sir Alex Ferguson, Jose Mourinho, Pep Guardiola, yeah, and your favourite manager, Carlo Ancelotti. So if that's picking up on the mic, let me know. Carlo Ancelotti, you have many great managers, right? And you're picking Roy Hodgson.
Being
this is what's wrong with this country.
Brought up lifelong thanks to my grandmother's indoctrination. He gave me the best days ever when I went to the Europa League final. So,
but do you think you got quite annoyed at the weekend because I've seen the reports about your WhatsApps. There's a little bit of swearing, so I can't. You were saying you're
only
swear
one swear
word
board
of
of
it.
For me.
Just say
bored of the psychodrama.
Yeah.
You said you're really tired of it. So all this talk about
he should lose his seat for that.
What's your message to colleagues?
My message is simple. When I go out door knocking in Stoke-on-Trent, North Kidsgrove and talk, people are talking about potholes, people are talking about NHS, they're talking about schools.
So what have you done for pothole schools in the NHS then?
They're talking about the levelling up investment.
Yeah, I got loads. I'm trying to start mixing them up a bit more, but
with some projects which have sadly not been able to get off the ground as quickly as I'd like them to have done. They're talking about what they want to see in terms of new skilled jobs.
Honestly, I can't do anything about it. Wasn't in the head then. No, I'm going to deal with that later.
I see their high streets rejuvenated.
As in, that's not my kid, and I'm annoyed. He keeps the door saying knocking. Where's the videos of him doing it? So yeah.
They are not interested in what is a Westminster bubble story. And what they will do, if we enter this psychodrama even further, if we even entertain the idea of an leadership contest, believe me, the voters will tune back in. To say,
okay,
you may not give us an election within 6 weeks, but we promise you we'll kick you out, and we'll kick you out hard. Okay. And we will be not just relegated to Championship, we'll be relegated to League Two. We'll be below 100 MPs. For any colleague who seems to think that things can't get worse.
I'm hearing good things from this. I'm hearing great things from this. They'll be relegated into League Two. I'm hearing great things here. This is nice. I'm loving this. I'm loving this.
Believe me, it can and it will. So shut up and put up.
Oof. What do you think, Jess?
I mean, I'm glad you didn't ask me the question about who I'd compare any leader to a football manager.
I know you well enough to know that
I couldn't name a...
Oh, Friends. Media personalities and politicians, Friends.
Football manager.
That would not work.
But with regards to the psychodrama in the Conservative Party, you know, the truth is I used to think that Penny would be a quite admirable challenger. She's a woman I quite like and respect, and I think she's quite a good performer. But even with that said, the idea that the Conservatives could replace the leader and, as Jonathan says, not get... I mean, they would be put into, you know, the Vauxhall Conference. Is that a low league in...
That's pretty low.
I'm struggling through with my football-related...
That's impressive, that was. I've never heard of the Vauxhall Conference League. I think I have done it at some point, but... Yeah, this is good. I'm enjoying this. This is the good stuff right here.
I'm going to do what Stuart did.
This is the good stuff, you know, relegated into League Two. I'd love to see that. Genuinely. Swims in poop and Grease gullus. So yeah, that's great stuff. It was an issue. I'm not bowler hat man. It's nice to hear kids having fun. It's annoying for me, trust me. Let's have a look. There's more stuff here.
Conservative MPs of not just losing the general election later this year, but a devastating defeat from which it's hard for their party to recover. Conservative MPs see the same opinion polls that we see, and they suggest that the Conservatives are a long way behind the Labour Party. Now, you might say, well, the opinion polls have suggested that for a very long time.
Catch you later, Reagan.
And you'd be right. But there's a few reasons why some, and I emphasise some, Conservative MPs seem to be panicking now. The last few weeks have been really bad for the Conservative Party. You had Lee Anderson joining the Reform Party. You had the row over Frank Hester, mega Conservative donor. But you also had the budget failing to shift the opinion polls, the public opinion landscape, it seems, at all, despite a fairly hefty cut to national insurance. And you've also got Conservative MPs preparing for local elections, council elections, police and crime commissioners elections all across England and Wales in May. And I'm told by Conservative MPs that as they've begun to campaign for their local councillors, a lot of them have been really taken aback by what members of the public seem to think of their party, but also seem to think of Rishi Sunak. Now, I don't think there's going to be a change anytime soon.
That's interesting, because I think there might be a change. I think there might be a change.
Number of Conservative MPs who think it would be utterly absurd to change leader again is still...
I think after you've changed the second one, I don't think that stigma kind of exists. All right, let's look at it. You got rid of Boris Johnson, right? Which was the right thing to do. You put in Liz Truss, which was the dumb thing to do. And then you got rid of Liz Truss, right? After that one, I think you get a fair part. I think you change them as many times as you want. I don't think people care.
Far outnumbered.
I think they'll get numb to it.
The number who are looking at a change. But let's see what happens in those local elections in May, because there are some Conservative MPs who now think that might be a moment.
How many leads that election? We're on 2 without an election, I think. 3 altogether, 2 without an election. But then Boris Johnson also was Tory leader without an election as well. Was the Prime Minister. We don't want the Tories wiped out. It'll push them into the arms of reform, push the window further right. When they do, this is what happened with... Yes, that is true, actually. That's a really good point. Emma Etherington. That's a great point. That is the one downside for Tories facing annihilation, which is, I think, reform will take over, and the difference is Reform are more a right-wing populist party rather than just a kind of, what would I class the Tories as, like a normal centre-right party, I guess, with the occasional cultural populism kind of heading in there a little bit. They're a more populist party.
A newspaper of a very small minority of Conservative MPs talking about trying to replace the current Prime Minister and leader of the Conservative Party, so replace Rishi Sunak with someone else. I wanted a quick word about what you thought of that.
If you think about what's happened with the Westminster government over the last 13 years and the number of changes of leadership there have been, and everything that the panel has said today about austerity and about low police numbers that this gentleman raised, and the fact that the health service is on its knees, and the fact that the public transport system doesn't work, and the fact that we've got local authorities declaring bankruptcy, yeah, sure, let's have another leadership election. I think we need to look at this. If you look at their track record, it's not a leadership issue. It's the whole party, and they have to go.
100%. That's true. It's facts. It's the whole party. You know, there's no idea of this. The good Tory, all of that nonsense is gone. It's dead. It's dead. Leave it. It's gone. It's that notion should have died a long, long time ago. These are not honourable people. These are people who have killed people via austerity. There's none of them are good. We keep going. Sunak will call a general election if the Tories trigger a leadership contest. People should be careful what they wish for. If they don't want an election, they should stop messing around. Well, an election's incoming anyways, so, you know, might as well jump before being pushed.
Though, I mean, a lot of people are saying he should have sacked Tom Tugendhat and Anne-Marie Trevelyan for making an intervention on defence spending, Andrew Bowie for making an intervention on the decision to tax oil and gas. Like, he has...
oh, yeah, May wasn't elected either when she became Prime Minister. That's another one. That's fine. Let's see, May... Does May count? No, May won an election. No, I think it counts. You had May, you had Johnson, Sunak, you had Truss. Yeah, all 4 of them.
Lost cabinet collective responsibility. Some people are saying an authority within the party. I mean, he is on shaky ground, isn't he?
I mean, it doesn't look like collective responsibility has been lost. I mean, 1 or 2 ministers speaking out of turn can be dealt with by the chief whip, I am sure. Collective responsibility matters.
She lost a lot of seats. Oh, no, she didn't lose. I think she lost, maybe 20, I think, 20 odd.
I see it being in...
The Tories' mascot should be a snake eating its own tail. I mean, yeah, the Aurora... what's it called? Not Aurora Borealis. What is the snake consuming itself? Man, it's in a song lyric. It's in my head now. A snake eating itself. What is that called? Ouroboros. That's it. Ouroboros. I think that's how you pronounce it. Ouroboros. That's what the party is now.
Forced in this government. The Prime Minister has had no...
That's it, yeah, you got it. Ouroboros. That's in Resident Evil 5. That's the thing they mentioned.
Notable successes. He's making progress on the economy, Beth. And we see health...
Hang on now. What was this brother saying a minute ago? What was this? Where's he gone? Where's he gone? I think the time for sending letters has passed from that Tory MPs. No confidence. What was he saying here?
Who I represent about these things matter. Act of folly. Let's keep calm and carry on.
Right, okay, so that's what he's saying. He's pushing the same thing, which is just wait. Where's that one gone? Right, okay. So is that one... So he's saying... Who is that? Buckland. Yeah, Buckland's one of them steady Eddie type guys.
Corner, the government's getting closer to sending flights off to Rwanda, and this is the year where Britain apparently could bounce back. That was what Rishi Sunak had to say today on a visit to Warwickshire as he tries to reboot his stuttering premiership again. The problem he's got, the country isn't listening and his party isn't either. As the PM tries to get back on with the job, back in Westminster, his MPs are consumed by the ongoing Tory psychodrama around Rishi Sunak's leadership. One former cabinet minister told me today the PM was at a tipping point, having lost command and control of his party. Another, who wants to change leader, told me the situation was unsustainable, while a supportive Tory grandee said he thinks the PM will hang on, but there are painful weeks ahead. If you find it all a bit confusing, it's because it is. The party's become ungovernable, split into factions and thrashing around as MPs stare down the barrel of a potential election wipeout, walk into the gunfire or try to change general. Most MPs would probably rather stick, not twist, but that doesn't mean the Prime Minister won't face a confidence vote in the coming months if 50-plus MPs decide they want him gone.
She does, doesn't it? It sounds like this really epic tale.
Admit they are some way off that threshold, but what everyone can agree on is that the local elections on May the 2nd are fast turning into a critical test for an embattled Prime Minister with more political drama.
It's pretty good writing, to be fair. It sounds pretty cool. What is the stuff she's saying? It sounds really cool. Then you realise it's a country that has wealth and is completely sunk. That's when you realise that. Okay, move on.
You've been over in Westminster today talking to MPs, as have I. What are you hearing?
So I've been over in the lobbies for about 6 hours. What you're getting today is despair, uncertainty, a lack of a plan, a kind of resignation about the political situation of the Conservative Party and the Prime Minister. But last week there was something especially toxic.
No, this video is from the 18th. It's from, to be fair, it's a couple of days old, but this is when they were there.
There was something really febrile. There was a mood around for something quite radical. And
none of the stuff I cover is up to date. Not super up to date anyway. It's not like everyone else.
Rishi Sunak made clear that the local elections were just going to be the only elections to be held on May the 2nd. And although we've had all these talk over the weekend of, plots involving Penny Mordaunt, which I think mostly were hostile briefings done to her rather than things that anybody...
That's interesting, if people are making out like she's a potential leadership contender when she's not even trying to make waves. It's quite interesting that they're targeting her specifically. They must know it's a front runner, so it could be Badenoch's camp, or it could be Tom Tuggan on his hat's camp.
Body with her best interests were putting out there. It doesn't feel today like, having had the early election taken off the table, anybody that I talked to in the Tory party over the last few hours particularly knows what to do other than...
More coding required. Thanks for the fun. Hope to return soon. Yeah, see Cthulhu.
And it is incredibly bad. So there are headless chickens, there are people despairing, but is there a plan? Is there a plot?
He keeps saying the plan is working. This is like the Labour equivalent of missions and pledges and all that stuff. He talks about the plan working. What plan? What plan has he got?
Yeah, and this sort of idea about it being confusing because
these two talk really slow, so I'm going to kick it to 125.
Speak to different people and everyone will agree it's awful, but they're not sure what to do next. A lot of people are talking about May the 2nd now as a real danger.
If it's too quick, let me know. I'll slow down.
For the Prime Minister. Is that what you've picked up as well today?
Oh, absolutely. Nobody thinks it's going to get any better. And we had a really weird spectacle. Yesterday, Downing Street issued a 2,600-word press release about a speech to be given by the Prime Minister this morning about economic policy, his first since the budget. Rishi Sunak stood up, and it lasted 6 minutes, 40 seconds, most of it a repeat of things he'd said before. Downing Street really struggles to land messages. Downing Street and Rishi Sunak struggle to...
You can't land a message when the economy's cooked like this. What are you trying to tell people? And MPs know it. MPs know that it's over. How are you supposed to sell it? Like, you can only... Unless you're one of the best salesmen in the world, right, you're not going to be able to sell this broken mess to people.
Change the weather. And that's why if things don't improve and things get worse and we get to those local elections on May the 2nd and they're as bad as MPs expect, yes, there'll be more of this. But to what end? Nobody seems sure. Nobody seems to know where to go. There were lots of people coming out wanting even today it to be May, even though the Prime Minister's ruled it out. Some of them just want the pain to end.
And it's going to be really unclear, and I wonder whether you could get to a confidence vote by accident rather than design because of the febrile nature of the party. I mean, what's clear is when we were, covering Boris Johnson, there was organisation. This is just party chaos, isn't it?
That's right. The question is, can it really stretch on to October and November? That's where, when you look at people in the eyes, they can't quite say yes. The trigger for a confidence vote is low. It's much less than half the party. You can see that happening. But to what end? People aren't sure.
Yeah, I think it's over. Honestly, I think the Tory party is just completely dysfunctional. It's out of control, and all you're seeing is just people. They've no idea what to do. They don't have a candidate to coalesce around, and some of them aren't convinced it's worth getting rid of the leader. Not again, because they've got no one to replace him with. Basic communication is beyond saying that. Yeah, to be fair, the way he speaks is hilarious. This is going to be... Sorry, it's pretty bright. It's dark in this room, and what's it called? I'm switching to light mode. This is the thing that's going to haunt the Tories right there. This poll right here, right? This poll right here is the thing that's going to scare them. Look at that. Look at that. 4 points. Poll done on the 20th of March. 4 points out. That's how far the Tory party have fallen. 4 points away from Reform UK. Look at that. 4. Obviously, you have 3 points margin of error. So, you could say maybe the Tories arguably on 23, and worst case scenario, Reform are on 12. 10 points. Within 10 points. If you make the margin of error argument and you spin it as best you can for the Tories. This is it. This is where the vote is going to be split now, because people aren't going to be sure of who to vote for. The problem, as kind of Phil points out with Reform UK, is they don't have the infrastructure to run that many people. They don't have the vetting procedures there to vet that many people. But ultimately, if people see a Reform UK candidate, they see the Labour, on the ticket they'll see the Reform UK party, they'll see the Tory party, and they see the Labour party. They might not want to vote Tory because of the mess they made. They might not want to vote Labour because it's Labour. Reform UK might be their option there. That's all right, Mithra. I'm about to end the stream anyways. Unfortunately, don't worry about it. You just watch it back. It's not a problem. The Tories are gonna be replaced by Reform. This is the fear, that when you get rid of one monster, another one appears. That's way worse. And this lot, if they get funding, and they stick with their kind of right-wing populism, this lot are going to be a problem. But what we are witnessing is the end of one of the most successful, one of the longest-running political parties in the history of the world here. That's what we're witnessing. If the Tory party collapses like this, we are witnessing a historic end to one of the biggest groups of scumbags the world has ever seen. Where do moderate Tories go? Probably Lib Dems. Some might go into Labour, some will probably go into Lib Dems. I'm not sure where they'll go. If they leave the Tory party, that's where they'd go, I think. But this is over. This is over. Look at that. Done. They're on 19. Labour on 44. So what's that? It's over 20 points. Just over 20 points they've got on the Tories, off the Labour party. This is it. They're finished. Like not only are they being soundly beaten by Labour, they are also being cooked by Reform. They're also being smashed by the Reform UK party. There's no win here for them. It's done. I think it's over. There's no move they can make now where they can win. I don't think there's anything they can do to win here. So the question after the election will be, who are going to be the main kind of centre-right to right-wing opposition in the country? And do you know what? As much as, the thing with the Tories they have all the infrastructure and the funding and the branding kind of thing that they need to kind of come back. Reform UK don't have any of that. But what they do have is Nigel Farage. What they do have is, right-wing populism. And that's where it gets interesting. That's where we see, where the real shift happens. I think another shift happens in UK politics. That's where it gets real interesting, because we have seen a shift in right-wing populism during the Brexit referendum. We saw it since the Brexit referendum, really. We've seen the Tories shift further and further and further to the right. We've seen them pull back a little bit in more recent, but they're still very right-wing populists on immigration. There's no centre left anymore. I mean, I don't know. It depends where you class the Labour Party, to be honest. It depends where you think the Labour Party are. That's the thing. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to leave it there. I need to go eat something. I've gone way over. No Justice is mentioned. Every time the Tories speak in front of an audience, they just get laughed at. Yeah, it's done. They're finished. I think they're washed. Honestly, they're washed. I think it's over for them. The question is what happens after. You know, the arguments of we can't get complacent with Labour and things like that. That's fine. That's a good argument to make. But then, you know, it's either Labour need to appeal to people that are pro-Palestine, people that are kind of more left-wing, or it's Labour don't, and they don't win those votes. And it's the Labour Party being complacent on the left of their party. That's what that is. The Labour Party are being complacent at that point. That's no one else's fault but theirs. You know, these people here, the only one I'll give a slight pass to is Phil, right? But even this video is pretty damning. These people here, right, they don't get a pass. None of these people get a pass when they say fall in line for Labour, because there have been historic examples where they haven't done so. They've decided to speak their conscience and say, I don't support this from the Labour Party, or even actively campaign against the Labour Party. So for them to say fall in line, look how bad the Tories are and all that nonsense, you know, are they that much worse than 2019? Really? Are they that much worse than 2017? Really? Are they that much worse than 2015? Really? Are they that much worse than 2010? That's the question you need to ask yourself if you're one of these people who pushes the fall in line rhetoric. You know, this argument of all I do is hate on Labour and whatever. I criticise them. And if it's not okay to criticise Labour, okay, that's fine. But then I want to see you guys, I want to see those people call out people like her. I want to see at the time you should have called out people like this, or like this, or even like this. These are the people you should have been calling out at the time, because they weren't pushing the fall in line motion back then. And so if it's now suddenly, oh, this is the most important election of all time and blah, 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 blah. No, 2019 was more important. 2019 was more important. Because 2019, we had a chance to do something with Brexit. That was 2019. If Corbyn was in charge, COVID would not have been as bad for this country. I stand by that. I'll stand by this statement until the end. COVID would not have been as bad on this country if Corbyn was in charge versus Boris Johnson. He would not push the if they die, they die mentality. So, you know, for me, personally, 2019 was a much more important election than this upcoming one. So for those people who didn't push, who pushed actively against Labour and supported other parties, or, you know, didn't give their full support to Labour, for them to now give their full support to Labour and attack other people for not doing so, that to me is shameless. Those people should not be listened to. Thank you, Sock. 5th attempt. Yeah, 5th time lucky there. Thank you. That to me is shameless. That to me shows you have no morals. That to me shows you don't have principles. That to me says you're not worth listening to beyond offering critique. That's it. 2019 was a much more important election, especially given what we know now, especially what we know happened over the last few years. I wonder if the Conservative Party will bust if they lose too many MPs, short of money, other benefits. The thing is that the thing the Tory Party have is brand recognition. They've got brand recognition and they've got infrastructure. So it's very possible that they can get picked back up. It just depends on what people like Hester and I think it's the Egyptian, I can't remember his name, the Egyptian donor. It depends on where the money goes. If the money leaves the Tory Party and it goes to Reform, it's over. It's over for them. If the money stays with the Tory Party, then they have a shot. They'll have to cut back massively. They'll have to live within their means. But they can come back, I think. I think they can come back. But as is now, I don't think they can come back. Anyways, guys, I've gone way over. I actually do need to get something to eat because, yeah, I'm starving out here. But, yeah, anyways, I'm going to leave it there. We'll be back on weekly streams. I'm going to have that project done with Random Scottish History on Monday. I don't know when it's going to be published. Probably published Tuesday. There's no PMQs this week, which is a shame because I would have covered it. But there's not. So what I might do is I might do a midweek stream. But what I need to do is clear out all these tabs. And just start going again and just make use of the time I've got off. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Thank you for the super chats. If there's anyone who watches this back, I appreciate it. Let me know what you think. Thank you, Andrew Luke, for the super chat. It's a good stream. Yeah, I agree. I enjoyed it. Apart from, you know, certain characters who once again make themselves look stupid because they don't know what they're talking about. And yeah, I'll catch you guys. Hopefully midweek. I'm gonna try and stick to midweek. And I'll catch you guys next time. Bye bye.